G'day, Nick here, Animal Engineering. Welcome back to the channel. So today's episode number 9 on the old Metro van here, the old SSMETRO. Cheers for you legends that have been subscribing lately. We're pushing close to the 1,000, which is pretty exciting. Bit of a milestone there, 1,000 subscribers. But yeah, if you're enjoying the build, hit the old subscribe button. Yeah, pretty cool. So today's episode, we're going to be tackling this corner here, trying to get rid of that rust. Some of you that follow me on Instagram and that would have noticed I put up a post a couple of weeks ago now on doing the other corner. So that side's all done. There, you can see there, I've done the outer layer and the inside layer on that one. I sort of done that one first as a bit of a trial, bit of a practice, so we dial in the settings and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, pretty happy with how that came up. So today's episode will show you how I got to that result. Yeah, first step I've got to do is make a template of that while it's still on the van. So basically I've just got some paper, this is some baking paper, stole that out of the kitchen inside, and yeah, got a pencil. I'll just sort of cut with a bit of a thing so I can sort of get a rough trace around the piece there. I've got that drawn up. This is a bit tricky getting like a decent line there. Well, basically this whole corner's just missing. But see, we've got a bit of a line there. We should be able to just eyeball it and get a nice radius on there and cut it out. Alright, so there you have it. That's our template coming straight off the van. So yeah, we'll put that on the, transfer that over to the steel now, leaving a bit of room top and bottom just for trimming it and at both ends. So we'll obviously make it a lot bigger than we need. Alright, there you have it. That's me using the template. I've got that marked out on the sheet there. So basically we'll cut that out and then we'll move over to the bead roller. What I've got here is these electric shears. Pretty handy bit of kit, these things. Yeah, we'll just cut this piece out and then we'll move to the bead roller. That's our piece. We'll cut out. So basically now I'm just going to take it over to the van and just kind of bend it into the rough shape that it needs to be before I put a bead roll in it. And then yeah, as I bead roll it, I'll try and keep that shape. So you can see here the bead dies I'm using. Pretty much the same dies I used on the bottom of the grill shell. Sort of got the step that matches pretty dang close to what's already on the van. So yeah, we'll run that through, get that first step put in. And then we'll do a bit of shaping with a shrinker stretcher, get it so it's nice and parallel and running and fitting with the van, and then we'll move on to tipping the bottom flange. I don't know if you can see, it really shows up there, but as I was going through the bead roller and I was getting to this curve section, I was actually applying a bit of pressure down. So it naturally just wants to make a straight flat panel when you put a bit of a flange in there like that. So keeping the pressure on it, sort of stretching it as it's going through, doing the bead, and sort of doing a bit of work for us at the same time. Work that we don't have to go back and do on the stretcher later on. You see there, it's just with that one pass. We're looking pretty good, shape's good. Following that body line pretty good there, so we'll just keep going. Yeah, a couple more passes. Couple more passes and we'll have this bit done, and then do a little bit of tweaking before we do the tipping the bottom flange. When I done the last one, the tipping the bottom flange sort of changed the shape quite drastically, and there was quite a bit of work on the old shrinker stretcher there, but for now we'll just carry on to this top one. Alright, there you have it. That's 4 passes through. Got a nice bead in there. Yeah, we'll take her over the van and we'll see how she looks. So you can see there, it's pretty spot on really. Alright, so as you can see, making that template up the right shape, and it's sort of had a bit of a curve in it. By the time we put that step in, it's nice and flat and parallel with the van, which is what we're after. So I know from the other side, you can see there's a bit of a, like that bit of a line there. So that's just a mark left by the dies when I form that bend. I know from doing the other side that from that mark I need to come down 75 millimeters before I start tipping the bottom flange, and then that will give me 60 mil bead here, which matches the van exactly. So we're just going to put some blue die chem on first, and then that will give me something to get a nice scribe line that I can follow. So what I've got here is a 1/4 inch radius die. I'm going to use that to tip the flange over, because if I just use a square shouldered tipping die, it's going to make like a real sharp bend there. Whereas on the van, you'll see it's actually like a nice radius on the bottom to that flange. So by using that, when I form the flange, it actually gets a nice radius in there. So we're using that one on the top with a flat bottom die. As I go through the die, I'm pretty much just keeping that scribe line in the center of this die, and then by the time I tip it up, that 1/4 inch it grows, gives me that 60 mil bead that I'm after. As it's going through, I'm using the left hand and just applying a bit of pressure up. First one I always just do very lightly, just to make sure I follow that line and tip it up in the right spot. You can see there, just a very light pressure up, how much, we've got a few wrinkles in there. So after each pass, I'll go to the shrinker and shrink it up a little bit. So yeah, you can see at times it does get pretty ugly looking. But yeah, go near the old shrinker and it tidies her up. So that's been what, 4 or 5 passes now. We're almost there. Probably another 2 more, I reckon we'll have it. So now I'm just back over at the van, sort of test fitting on the van, hitting it with the shrinker to sort of get it into the right shape. It is a bit hard with this flange here while it's actually on the van, but we can definitely get it close before we start trimming any of the old steel away. That's pretty close. So I think what I'm going to do now is actually trim this bottom flange back a bit so I can get it closer into the van, and then we'll go from there. And trimming that flange off, it's going to change its shape a fair bit. So we'll go back to the van, we'll try it on there again. But yeah, I imagine it's probably gone a bit funky. Yeah, she definitely went funky on us. That's pretty close where it is now. So I think the next step really, the old original bead there is all sort of holding it out in a way, so I can't sort of get it right in to get it to line up with the front. So I really need to get in and cut all that old crap. So we will do that. So you'll see I have actually been through off camera, and I've sandblasted and primed the inside of all these panels. So the inner panel there has been sandblasted on both sides. This outer piece has been sandblasted on the inside and primed up. Basically right on the ridge of this bead, we'll just hack that off with the grinder. Pretty cooked. I can appreciate that may seem pretty extreme, and probably many people out there watching that know what they're doing, saying right now, this guy's an idiot. But it's my method. So, got that trimmed off. Now the beauty of using these clecos that I've been using on the whole van is I can just put this back, it's exactly where it was. So I know all the window frame, everything's exactly the same. And yeah, then I'll just work from there, put this new piece on. I forgot to push record on that last little bit, but basically all I done was trimmed that bottom flange back so it can actually go up against the van where it needs to go. And you can see I've put a couple of clecos in there just to hold it in place. Yeah, pretty happy with how that's sitting on there. So now I'm just going to trim this top flange of this new piece a little bit so there's not as much there, and then we'll mark it on the old piece and we'll cut them and join them together. Using these little paddle clamps there. So it basically just sets like a 1 mil gap in between the two pieces. Allows you to get nice good penetration in there. So you'll just work through, feel the bits that are closest to the line, chuck tacks on them, go through, hammer and dolly until we get probably 50 or 60 tacks along the whole thing, and then we'll start welding it out. See, as you can see, there's a lot of tacks on there now. Panels are both fitting up nice and good, nice and flush with each other. So, yeah, happy with that. We've got a nice gap there, so you get good penetration between the two pieces. So yeah, now we'll just go through, sort of stagger the welds in one here, one here, one here, one here. Just working up and down the seam, slowly joining all these tack welds together. Weld it up, we'll grind the welds down, give it a bit more work with the hammer and dolly, and then we'll test fit her on the van. There you go, she's all back on there. She's fitting back on there. Vast improvement on the rust that was there. Basically that's the outside done. So next section we have to do is the piece underneath. Now on the other one that did seem a bit easier. There's no reverse flanges or anything, just that same template, put the bead in it and basically make it fit that piece we've just made. So yeah, like the other side, just because it's only got that one bead in it, it's a hell of a lot easier to make. You put that second flange in, it just tries to open up, and you're going to shrink it, stretch it and play around. But yeah, this inner piece is a hell of a lot easier. So I'll go through now and I'll cleco that onto this outside piece, then we'll chuck it back on the van, and then we'll be able to mark up the other piece and give that a trim. Alrighty, well, after a little bit of massaging and playing around, I've got that panel fitting nice and tight there. Yeah, happy with that. For now, we'll get out the scribe, we'll scribe that and we'll trim it. And we'll look at fitting her up. The only way I can really get to the other side to clean it up before welding is actually removing this whole corner, so the outside piece and the inside piece both got to come out. Yeah, they'll give me good access to get in behind there and actually clean all the rust and the stuff off that's on the other side of that panel. Boom! Oh, there you go. That's all held in there with the paddle clamps. We're not going too bad today. We're making a bit of progress. Well, that's all fit up, ready for tacking and welding. Basically the exact same sequence as what you're seeing me just do on the outer panel. So yeah, I'll probably just switch to a time lapse. I haven't tried doing a time lapse on my phone yet, so we'll give that a go and hopefully run a bit of a time lapse on my phone, just listen to some tunes, have a couple of beers and smash this out. There you go, that's all welded on, looking pretty dirty. So I've got to obviously grind that weld up, clean that up a little bit. All the finishing work on that panel will be done probably in the next episode, I guess. The panel is going to have to come off the van. There's work I've got to do in the whole centre section. It's all rusted. It's not rusted away, but it's surface rust, and it just needs cleaning up and all that sort of stuff. And the backside of these quarter panels need to get sandblasted and etch primed, so they have to come off the van. So basically I'll leave that clean up until then. There's 3 layers to the corner. So I've done the outside, I've done the middle, and then this is the inside piece. So it's all been sandblasted and painted and tidied up, but you can see all the holes there. You see a bit of a curve, so that curve there actually gives the shape to that corner. But yeah, as you can see, that's rod through as well. So I need to cut, not the whole piece off, but I just need to make like a nice slim little flange with that curve in it and cut and replace that. So that is the next mission. We'll get on to that. Alright, so just got a bit of ram board here. It's card, it's nice and strong. It comes in a roll. Yeah, I've actually got another project coming up. You might have seen in the background, the old Corolla that I've got to do some door cards for. So pretty much buy the roll, cut lengths of it off, put it in between some sheets of steel, and then leave it for a good few days, and it comes flat. If you try and use it off the roll, it's an absolute nightmare. It bends and it's just crazy. So yeah, we'll use that and we'll mark this radius that we're chasing, and this should be a fairly simple piece. There you go, that's my 2 templates. That's the overall size. And then once I've cut it out, I can put that second piece up, mark a line on it, and then that's where I'll tip over. So yeah, basically, unlike the last ones that I have been doing for the actual seam, the beads on the van, on the outside, where I've been using the 6mm radius to get the nice flowing bend on the reverse flange, I'm using this one. So you see it's very sharp and should give a very, very nice crisp, as if it's been done with like a pan brake or a press or something like that. So basically, as was before, because we're coming on an outer radius like this coming over, the inside radius is actually smaller, so as we're coming over we need to shrink the metal. So yeah, basically I'll do the same thing as before, couple of passes, hit it with a shrinker, couple more passes, hit it with a shrinker until we can get it to 90 degrees. Well, there you go, that's our piece. Got a nice radius to match the side of the van there. It's tipped to 90, so nice and straight. So yeah, basically we'll just put that on the old piece, mark it out, trim her up, weld her in. There you go, it's all welded up. Grind, quick hammer and dolly, flatten it out, and then that's the third layer of rust taken care of on that corner. So I'm not going to go too full on grinding the weld on this piece. It's tucked out of the way, you can't see it. It's a fairly structural piece of the whole van, so leave a bit of weld there, it's a bit stronger. So now we're just going to go through, there's a few holes up here, just going to go through, tidy them up, and then there's a few dags and bits of the old spot weld, so I'll just go through, grind all that up, clean that up, and then that'll be this piece done. Well, there you have it, the mission. But now that side's done, the other side's done. That is the worst of the rust on the van, cut out and replaced. So you can see, it's the inner piece here. Put the new piece on there, no more rust there. So, for a bit of a rookie in a first real attempt at doing any sort of panel beat, I'm pretty happy with how this has come up. So you see all these pieces, as I said, have been sandblasted, etch primed. I went down to S Industries in Midvale there, and those guys in there are bloody awesome. I was just gonna get, so the copper paint here is like a weld through primer. So on all the bits that are going to be welded in the future, I'll just use that. So it's actually got copper in it, which apparently helps with the welding process, obviously having the copper conductivity in it. But yeah, I was basically just going to get that and paint the whole panels, and they were just like, whoa, whoa, easy, tiger. Yeah, it's pretty expensive stuff. So yeah, basically going off their advice, I got this stuff here, the U-pole weld through copper rich primer. So yeah, it's supposed to be the duck's nuts. So yeah, I guess we'll chuck her all back together. She's all back together with those Clecos. They're an awesome little invention, those things. So yeah, we'll bring you in and have a bit of a look. There's still a bit of work to do on this bottom panel here, the main quarter panel. It'll probably be next episode, I guess. We'll be taking probably both front quarters off, tuning up those welds, and getting access so I can actually sandblast the inside of those panels and get them etch primed. And then also these pieces here, and behind there's a little bit of rust as well, which needs to get cut out, which is on this panel. Oh yeah, really stoked with that. That's the worst of the rust done, the hardest patches to do on the van done. So yeah, if you've made it this far through the video, cheers for watching. Yeah, share the video, give it a bit of love, thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers for watching.